Okay, nice.
It's funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's clearly like a lot of lap time there because you lost a lot of time getting so sideways out of the
Sure
tight
did.
left-hander. Okay, so that's fine. So we're going to see exactly how much you lost when we look at the data in a sec. So we'll get that loaded up. But first impressions watching you there, I think the car is suiting you quite well because you're not overdriving it. You are, you're being very, very progressive, kind of coaxing the car to the apexes. Like it looks good on board. Your lines look good, and the car, for the most part, doesn't look out of shape. So we'll try and have a look now and see. Obviously, between a 2-minute 2 and a 1:59, there's some additional difficulty, and the car, you're going to uncover some tough handling traits. You've already found understeer in certain places.
Yeah.
You've definitely found some oversteer as well on exit. So it's just going to be an increase in those kind of situations. But there's obviously some time there for us to take. So let's just have a look and see if we can find where most of it is. And if there's any low-hanging fruit, we'll take it without trying to make it more, more difficult for you to drive. Because in a race, actually, a lap time is one of the least important things, isn't it? It's about being able to do quite a good lap over and over and over. So I don't want to stretch you into an area where you can do it once every 6 laps, but then you're going wide. So let's have a little look. If this loads, come on, Garage61. Been particularly slow for me recently, Garage61. I don't know why. I'm just getting a blank screen. Right, here we go. So let's take your last lap there. It's so slow. There should be lots of people trying to access it at the same time or something. Right, here we go. And let's just swap these colours around. I wish there was a way I could just set it so I am always blue. Right. Yeah. Now we're both blue. Here we go. Right, okay, so let's have a look. Where's the most obvious place? Well, the most obvious place should be the corner where you lost a chunk of time on exit. Right, so that definitely is one of them. So if we have a look here, your oversteer moment just here, where you're turning, you've got a significant opposite lock on just here. How much time did you lose in that one moment? So let's say from here, so you're 0.434. And by the end of the oversteer... Okay, so it's half a second or so? Yeah, because it's kind of... We can't count any way past this apex. So half a second to 7/10 or so in that one moment alone. So that's an easy fix. Just don't do that. Whatever you did there, don't do it. Let's have a look and see. Why was it? Why did you get that oversteer? Probably because we're at the same minimum speed, give or take a kilometre an hour or two. But here, you just get on the gas much harder than me.
Well,
and then...
And I'm thinking... like if this were SFL, I probably would have, it can handle that kind of increase in power, but
the way the turbo kicks in this car, it's like suddenly it kicks in and like you have all the power at once. So, and you also had quite a lot of steering angle on at that point. You were probably understeering slightly, and yeah, it kind of kicked in at the same time, didn't it? So, but anyway, that's easily avoided for next time. So that's 7/10 in your pocket right there. Then the next time loss, I'd say, is like this bit here, and I think this is kind of a consequence of the oversteer. This corner here, we'll have to look at another run in a moment when this doesn't happen, but I think you go into this 90-degree left a bit slower than you would have done because your rear tyres are a bit cooked, and you're just being careful. We'll find out, we'll have a look, but that is definitely potentially why. So maybe 440, so yeah, kind of like 8-9 of that lap might have been in just those 2 bits alone, because turn 1, turn 2, you're really not very far off. Something's happened here that maybe I missed a gear. Yeah, maybe I hit the limiter or left it in gear too long. Because look here, you're actually half a tenth or so ahead of me by the time you get to the braking zone for turn 1, and then I don't really want to change what you're doing too much through turn 1 and turn 2 because you're only 0.2 down from 2 pretty tricky corners. And the danger here is, if I get you to try and go in slightly faster for both of those, and there is a tiny bit of potential to go in quicker, but you're going to find horrible understeer, and you'll be in danger there of losing half a second on the laps where you don't nail it. So I don't think we should focus on those for the moment, because on our delta here, all the way down here, it's just 2/10 or so. So, and then we know this bit here is predominantly because of the mistake. So after that, we will come back to these, but let's just see if there's any other places where there's more obvious little bits of time that we can eke back. Right, okay, so let's go second half of the lap. Okay, this little kink here. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I've been doing a little dab of brake.
Yeah, little tiny dab in conjunction with a slightly bigger lift than I'm doing. You're not losing a massive amount there though. So 0.1345. It's a tenth. It's 1/10.
I'm finding it's really helping me rotate the car by doing it that way, as opposed to just a big lift and cranking it.
Yeah, and I mean, and you can see that is kind of what I'm doing here. I've got a slightly higher peak steering angle. You've got an earlier peak, and then you're winding off. And you can see in the steering data down here, as my steering angle keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that's because I am experiencing understeer. But there is a little bit of extra speed through there. So there's maybe like 5 to 10k more through there. That's an area we can look at if you nail all the rest. I reckon it's this. This is where, from here onwards, once we kind of go into this long old right-hander, I don't know what they call this, whatever this is called. I think they call it carousel, weirdly, actually.
I think you're right.
But that corner there, we're doing something quite different. And if we take the whole thing in the whole thing is one big corner. So what are we? 0.1587. And let's take that up until the turn point of the fast right. So there's two. Wow. To be honest, again, only 2/10. The problem is if we keep saying, well, 2/10 doesn't matter, then by the end of the lap, that's where our second is. But we're doing it very differently. So let's just see what we're doing different. First of all, let's watch yours on board so we can see how that loads. Right, here we go. Right, so I know you can't hear this, but I'll describe it and you can see it. Okay, right, so you're doing quite a big lift. We're going in a little wide, so like deliberately wide. Let me just get this angle better so we can see where we're going. There's a bit of a bridge in the way here. Yeah, so we're slightly wide here. Out the way, sausage bridge. Jeez, that's not helpful. And around this point, you're lifting.
Yeah, I'm really just trying to keep it into the center until I can go flat out.
And then you do make an apex eventually, kind of like here. But at no point do you actually get very close to the inside. So all the way around, we get somewhere near, but we're never like on the green. It's just so much understeer, isn't it? Okay, right. I'll show you what I'm doing as a comparison, and you maybe can take some of the good bits from mine, and maybe we can merge them and find the very, very best version. I'm committing a lot more to the entry, so here we go. So I'm just going in full throttle, getting pretty close to the inside here, letting it run wide in the middle, and then making a clear second apex. The key being that I'm back to full throttle really early, like there. So full throttle here because I'm kind of angled back towards the inside. This view is not very good actually. Let's try and get a bit higher. So that's the main thing there. There we go, that's a bit better. We can see it there. So let's show you it again in one. It's basically two apexes and a very deliberate running wide. So apex, run wide, full throttle, second apex, and he just like extended the straight a little bit, and it does eventually stick. This is on what lap of the run? Second flying lap, I think. So the tyres are warm by this point. I can't get away with that on an earlier lap. So that's how it translates into the data. So you can see I am going in full throttle for longer, and then making one deliberate deceleration, and then full throttle again earlier. So you're ahead of me there to there. That one little bit there is where yours is quicker. But I think because of the long straight that follows, it's worth getting the best possible exit. So let's just see if I can give you like a clear marker of what we can change.
You're doing a little bit of brake. Is that to turn it a bit more?
Yeah, that is because I've gone in so much quicker here. So I'm doing like 195k. I need to then do a little brake. Otherwise, I'm going to run way too wide. So to go in that fast and to get it rotated, I'm having to like do, as you've noticed, that trail brake to get the thing rotated and then back on the power again. And you can see it's it's almost exactly in conjunction. If I zoom in a bit more, here where the brake starts, obviously the lift on the throttle is happening, and then the moment the brake finishes, bam, the throttle's coming back on here. So it's kind of like it's one or the other, but that brake allows that throttle. See how your throttle's kind of like a bit washy? It's like a kind of, you're not really committed either way. You're like just kind of trying and kind of vaguely on it. Whereas mine's on, full, off, full again, pretty much, until this secondary little lift just there. There's like a... I obviously didn't particularly nail the angle, or maybe I was a little bit too early back to full throttle. But the key is that you come off the corner way better. There's not a... If you look on your deceleration lines, you've kind of got 1, 2, 3 decelerations, and I've got 1 in the middle there. So it's like it's a bit more deliberate. Like I want the car to do what it did there. And it adds up to not very much lap time, unfortunately. 2/10 if you nail it. But if we said all the way to the end of the straight, there's obviously a bit more. So maybe it's not quite as easy that. So like 1.5, it's maybe 3/10, but if you're carrying the speed all the way down the straight. So there's something to it. I think that's going to be one that it's going to take a while to get it perfect, but I'm going to try and encourage you to just do that slight more like commitment to the throttle on the way in, rather than like lift, 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 lift here, which we're going to do like 1, maybe a teeny second one here if you're not quite sure. But the long and short of it is as well, I'm also kind of on a shorter distance on the exit here as well. It's mainly that it lets you get back to full throttle earlier though, and then you just carry that down the straight. Anyway, right, that's that. There's a lot of talking about one corner. Let's look at the final sector, because there's obviously a little bit more here. Because at this point here, 1.8, and then by the time we get to the finish, 2.6. Okay, so there is another few tenths here. So let's start with the end of that really long straight. You're not doing anything bad here at all. The only thing, if we're picking hairs, is you've got this W shape in your speed trace, which we always want to try and iron out, and that always comes from braking a bit too soon or getting it slowed a bit too soon, and then you're like, oh, I could probably get on the power a bit earlier, and then you're like, oh, it's understeering, and you have to lift a second time.
Yep.
So instead of that, we'll just try and brake a bit later. That's all. And in terms of a figure, 4983. Okay, it's like 10,
I'm braking
at
like the floorboard there.
Let's have a look where I'm braking. So you're braking at the floorboard, yeah, just like here somewhere.
Yeah.
And well, it's not a lot later, but yeah, it's kind of what the data shows, about 10 meters later. So not quite halfway between the 3 and the 4, but after the 4. That's probably a good guide. Just wait until you're momentarily after the 4, and then you should only have the 1 deceleration rather than those 2. So that's a little bit of that time there. That's because it's kind of like a little bit and then another little bit. It's kind of just eking out here. But that's a couple of the tenths. Right, let's go to the final corners here. So this is the main one here, or yeah, this is where it starts off. So that left, penultimate corner, looks like you're going a little wide there. Maybe it's just this lap. Let's ride on board with you. Maybe you also knew you were on a good one and didn't want to spoil it. Right. So you've got a bit more room you can use here as well. Obviously you don't want to go all the way onto the gravel, but I'm pretty sure I'm letting it go right out. Right, what happened in this next one? Okay.
Yeah, I missed the apex.
I think you just turned a little bit late. I think you just turned in slightly too late. Yeah, and that meant when you did turn, look how much lock you're having to crank on. I mean, look at that. We should never see that kind of steering angle in a prototype car. It's massive. Yeah, and it's just because you were slightly late turning in, and then it started to understeer, and you were like, more. Okay, so that's fine. That's something that you'll know that wasn't ideal. So just slightly... that's something I found with this car, actually. One of the ways that I eventually got in the 59s was like just edging it in a little earlier than I would typically do. And it felt like doing that meant I was still carrying good speed in, but it was quite stable. And then by the time I got further into the corner, enough speed had come off that it actually did then do the last bit of rotation. Normally, you don't want to go in too early you know, to try and cure understeer, but it's just very, very small amount. You can see here the angle that we were talking about with the steering. So that's your understeer there.
I see that right there. Oh, wow. Okay. So
it's
just
quite a lot.
Yeah. Although you're not... I'm just trying to...
Yeah, I think the main difference is...
at the same time, though, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, let's have a look. Let's watch the video. So, in fact, if I go super slow-mo... So where are we? Okay, so you do your main turn. You start to turn. I'm counting these red lines on the curb here. So it's like 4 to go. 3 to go is where you really start to wind it on. There, okay. Let's see what mine is. Because I haven't looked at this section of my that. Annoying that it's right at the end, so it takes ages to get there. Right, here we go. Yeah, I think it's earlier, but it's quite gentle. Right, let's go super slow-mo. So it's like now, look how early I've already got the wheel turned here. So I'm peeling away from that curb.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
like 5 away.
Yeah.
Like 5 red ones. Okay.
And let's just watch it in full speed actually, just because I'm going in quicker, but it understeers less. So let's see why. Okay, I think it's the timing of the lift and maybe the timing of the brake. So I'll do this. I'll leave all the controls on screen. Yeah, you see a little bit of trail braking just there. Actually double pedaling. Just to get it really on that curb. Okay, that's the reason I carried more speed, is because I really got to that inside, so I had more room to use. You just didn't have as much space. And I obviously let it run a bit wider on the exit too. But yeah, it's not an easy one, that, because I'm braking less, but I'm braking later. So I think it's that timing. Whereas you've done, in fact, maybe that's the key. Where's your... Go away. Where's your brake? Yeah, so where your brake is there, that's your peak. And then you're fully off. And mine continues to there. And I've gone in earlier. I think it's those things combined to just get the nose over that curb, basically. But... yeah, it's not obvious, is it? It's not super obvious, because you think you're going that much slower, it should understeer less. But I think that probably also winding on that steering lock as much as you did might have induced some of that understeer too. It's so easy to add a bit more, and it just makes the whole thing worse than it would have been. But it's also understandable. Okay, final corner. Final corner is this W shape again. It's not as exaggerated as the previous corner, but we've still got 2 decelerations, and obviously that just means you braked a little early, and the data shows you did brake a little early, so we just brake very slightly later. But with all of this is with the caveat of, if it makes you scrappy and risks you going off, you know, once you've had a bit of time to practice it, obviously initially you probably will find it scrappy. But if after we've done some more practice, it's still difficult, the best thing to do is to stop doing it. You know, it's definitely not in a race. If you're doing it in practice and you're trying to get better and better, then obviously that's fine. But if you're in the live session, I wouldn't be trying to get that much closer to the limit. Turn 1, turn 2, you're looking pretty good. Braking for the... I call this a hairpin because it feels like a hairpin, but it's not really. That's also really good. You're not that far away by that point. Okay, maybe we were slightly early on the brakes for that tight left. But you kind of realised it and bled off the brakes a bit and then got back on. But, okay, so on an ideal push limit lap, there's a little bit more time in the braking for that corner as well. This is all just a mistake, so you won't do that on a normal clean lap. There's a tiny bit of time through that kink through there, but don't worry about that too much. This one's pretty good as well. So we've got here, apex here, and here, all really pretty close. The only obvious places are the mistake, the way you're taking the carousel, which we'll try a different technique in a minute, see if you can pick up a 10th or 2, and then just a little bit more speed through that penultimate corner kink, but mainly by getting it turned in earlier and just nudging the brakes a fraction later to put the weight on the nose when you need it on the nose, not before the corner, but kind of as you're entering the corner there. And then final corner, slightly later on the brakes. Annoyingly, apart from that mistake where you got sideways, none of these are particularly easy places to find time. It's little teeny bits in lots of places. It's good in a way because it means you're like generally quite close to the best technique, but it's annoying in terms of trying to find a big chunk of time. So why don't we go do a run? Try not to do what you did there. So just don't lose the rear on the exit of that tight corner.
Right.
And
I
then
think what I'm
we'll
doing as I'm spinning, when I had that oversteer, is I'm used to being able to kind of slam on the gas, and in the SFL or even really like the F3s or the F4s, it can tend to handle it better than, like, I guess because this is so light and it's able to just crank up the acceleration so quickly. I've noticed it even at starts. You can't just, like SFL, I can just slam it and go, and I can't do that here.
Yeah.
I will spin.
You really didn't do much wrong here. Like, you've done a really nice clean line in. You're not crazy wide. It went quite early, actually. It's like now there. It's almost like there's a bump that kicked it. If I go a little bit closer. There. It's like that join in the asphalt here. It's like you went over this seam, and at that point, the rear kicked out. It's like sliding already at this point. And then, then obviously it catches up with you as the revs pick up and you get on this bumpy bit here. It just carries on. It's like the slide doesn't start here. It just never stopped from back there.
I see.
But, yeah, you didn't make a huge mistake at all. It was like... Oh, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Without that, you'd have been really, really fast. The only other thing I wanted to show you is you can probably use a bit more of this. I don't know whether I actually did it on my best lap, but you don't get an off track for going wide there unless you go really, really wide. I don't know whether I did it on this one. No, look, I was being all safe like you. I wonder if I did it on this one.
Now, I've definitely seen people really get to the far right there. Oh, yeah, there you go. You were.
Yeah, and I think this one was probably better through this corner than my best lap. Let's see what happens on the exit. Yeah, so I think that was quite a quick one, but I just screwed it up somewhere else on the lap. Oh yeah, this is one where I said I was close to the optimal until I wasn't when I lost it. Right, anyway, I'll shut up. Let's do some more driving. Let's jump back on.
Here, I'll share my screen here.
Awesome. And let's hope our internet's up to it. There we go. I'm watching. Let's do it.
All right.
But yeah, you're going to be in the 201s, obviously, just by doing a normal clean lap, and then we'll just try and find those other tenths here and there. But annoyingly, most of it is brake a little bit closer to the limit of braking, and therefore risk that tricky understeer on the way in. And as always, don't worry too much about the first 2 laps because it doesn't have very much grip.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to push my braking up a little further.
Yeah. I went straight on there on every first lap I did. So you've done better than me immediately into that corner.
It just didn't turn.
Yeah, that is lap 1.
That's bizarre.
Cold tyres. Let's just analyze. Oh, I think you got on the dirt. Okay, so yeah, you put your right tyre on the dirt.
Oh, is that what happened?
Oh, and you
it just didn't turn like I cranked it. And it didn't go.
So you were locked up when you got on the curb, and then you braked. You locked your right front, and then it went on the grass, and then and then you locked the left front too. That's what happened there. Yeah, that started off with just a little lock up on the curb.
That corner is still terrifying.
Especially when the tyres are cold.
Yeah, I did have to lift there.
Yeah, first 2 laps, I don't trust it at all.
Tried to turn it.
great effort at turn 1.
Just trying to brake a little bit later.
Yep. I mean, considering the tyres are still definitely not at their best, this is a great first flying lap.
A little too late there, I think.
It's very unforgiving for the level of car this is, which is, you know, one of the lower levels. It's not, you know, it's not as fast as a LMP2 or something. It's extremely unforgiving. Okay, so that's where you need to anticipate that if you're going quick, you need to anticipate you're going to get a horrible amount of mid-corner understeer. So you brake before the understeer happens, if that makes sense. So you commit on the way in, and then before the understeer actually sets in, you're already trailing the brakes to you know, be just that one step ahead of the car.
So just a little sooner than where I was?
Yeah, the fact that it just kept running wider and wider, I'd say that suggests that either we were a little bit late getting on the brakes, or maybe too soft.
I have a hard time visualizing how long that curve is.
Yeah, because it's much more than 180 degrees, isn't it? So.
I'll try it again here.
So definitely a bit of an earlier turn in for that one next time, but the speed looked pretty good. Ah!
Yep. Now I knew it. I should have feathered it a little more.
I'm just watching it back. Yeah, it's just how wide we got. It was kind of all fine. And then yeah, you started to unwind the steering and get on the power, and it was just, yeah, we just ended up on the crappy, dirty exit.
I just slammed on it.
Yeah, this car really seems to need the turbo to spool up smoothly, and like your foot needs to. Okay, right. So into that carousel, we need to make a more deliberate first apex. So on that one, you entered it at pretty high speed, but in fact, I'm going to show you after this. There's a patch of dirt where obviously in real life they must also they've modelled the patch of dirt because there must be people that kind of touch that bit of grass in real life as well. That's where you need to be really close to the inside. A bit like there, you see where there's that dirt in the inside because people obviously cut it. There's a thing like that in the carousel. So if you aim for that and clip it, that'll be the beginning of your fast entry, wide in the middle, fast exit version.
Yeah, I was looking for the patch of dirt. I just couldn't see it.
Yeah, it's like it's too late once you see it. It's already passed. Okay, that I'd say, although you went green momentarily, that was slightly too far back to the early turn in. So somewhere between that and what you did the last time is the perfect version. That was nice though. That was a decent run through there. Great little section there. Really, really nice.
brake there.
Okay, so aim for the little patch of dirt on the inside. Okay, we were basically on the opposite side of the track when we passed the patch of dirt on that one.
I can't even see it.
I'll show you it after this run.
Yeah.
So I'll show. Yeah, don't worry. I'll show you it after this run. Okay. That's fine. Let's do all the other parts as well as we can, and then we'll focus on carousel specifically on the next run. Really good effort through there. Really, really nice. Ooh. Okay, so it looked like your turn in was a bit sharp, like you chucked it in a little bit. That was all. You were obviously on a really good one up until that point. So finish this lap anyway, because we'll still be able to see the bits that were better. But yeah, I'm just gonna go watch that back. It looked to me like your steering input was just quite violent on that lap. Here we go. I'm just gonna watch it. No, it wasn't that bad, actually. It wasn't that bad. It must have just been the combination of exactly where you braked. Really nice, neat entry that time. That was, like, ideal. Really good. I think we can get away with a bit less steering angle into that corner. Okay.
I'm worried about the understeer.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to get you flying through that carousel. Okay, so just make sure the turn into here is smooth. Even though it's early, it's smooth.
Too much brake.
Let's do maybe one or two more, and we'll just assess what's changed. Because I think some of the track is clearly like way, way better, but like we lost obviously so much time in just that one penultimate corner that time. Good start. It's so unforgiving. It's painful the way the car just doesn't want to turn.
I knew I was taking it too fast, so I'm glad I was able to keep it. And I should not be holding my push to talk while I do this. Okay, I see it now. I saw the patch.
It'll be really, really obvious as well when I show you the replay. I should have mentioned it as one of the as like a kind of clipping point when we looked at the video, but I'll make it really clear on this next one. That was decent through there. So just carry more speed here, basically. Just risk it a bit more. Yep, so we can go even quicker. The car turned in too well, actually, that time. And final corner.
What gear I was supposed to be in.
Yeah, I think that last corner, the last few laps, I've seen you go in really, really early into that one. So I know it's really like confusing because some corners I'm telling you to turn in later and some earlier. But that final corner, I think we're going in quite a bit too early. We'll get another couple of flyers on because we haven't actually got like a clean one in this run. So I know this one won't be the fastest because you're not going to get a great run over the line. But let's just try and get something representative. But if we don't get it in the next 2 laps, that's fine. We'll use whatever we've got and do a little review. This has been useful for me though, because watching you in real time, I'm seeing a couple of things. Like one of the things I'm seeing is the amount of steering angle you're putting in and when. So I'm now going to pay particular attention to that channel of data. Right, I'm going to shut up and just let you drive this so I'm not distracting you.
Okay.
I think that was from an extra downshift that we didn't want. Everything was like good, and then we went down to second gear.
Yeah.
And that was what...
Should I stay in third there? I know you did.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. You still want to go in nice and slow, but third gear just means you're at much less risk of losing the rear. And actually... Yeah, you were in second before, weren't you?
I sometimes alternate.
It's like a low revs third. That was better. That was better, except we still overslowed it. So if you can do that entry technique, but just get off the brakes a little sooner, like don't keep slowing it down, then that will be perfect. It's like it's turning in too well. You're getting instability because we're actually going in a bit too slow. It's like the opposite of your previous run where we ran wide of the apex. So you're doing too much of a good job now of getting it to that apex. That's a great first corner, really decent. And a really nice turn too as well. So good start to the lap. Much better. Much, much better in third. Really good effort on this lap. So make sure we're flat out through this right-hander. Good stuff. Just don't underdrive through here. Carry decent speed. Well done for keeping it on the track. We definitely went in a bit early into that last corner, but we're going to look at that on this next little review. So, well done. Cool. Just stop it anywhere there.
Better.
And we'll load that. But yeah, that was good. That was a good one to look back on. Let me take that data. Yeah, well done for getting that one.
What I'm realizing is, if I wait longer to get back on the power, I'm able to get much more control over it, which was what I was in that 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, turn 4 or 5
Yeah,
down
I've
there.
got
That's
no
where
idea.
I just sort of waited.
Yeah. Oh, where's all of our... Where have all of our laps gone? What's going on? It's just deleted all the laps. Okay. It's just doing one of those little errors that it sometimes has. Right, let's get them both. So where was the one from before? What was your best? It was this 0.4. Add that. And we also want the one you've just done. Which is that one. Right, now let's colour them in, because they're all random. Okay, so let's make this one green, this one red, there we go. Right, okay, so this should make sense. So green obviously being the latest one. So turn 1 and turn 2, this was all like similar to what you did before. In fact, all the way down to the braking point for the tight left is all pretty good. Now let's look at this second half of the lap. Okay, so because you didn't want to risk losing out, you were very, very careful into that tight left-hander. Actually probably went in slightly too fast here. Look, you can see here where you came off the brakes a little earlier and ran quite deep, but because you'd lost so much time on the previous one, it ended up being quicker anyway. So you still came off better, but you can just afford to... You don't probably want to go through the middle of the corner quite that quick, yeah. Then you'll just come off quicker. Because look, the red one was coming off really well. Your red one was better than mine until you lost the rear. So yeah, that's all right. But you know, at this point we're up. So now let's look at the next ones. So this was where we gained loads. This is where you stayed in third this time into this 90 left. And although there's still a little bit more speed, you're way faster through there. And you're back on the power quite early and hard, and you've gained a chunk of time. So keep doing that. That's good. You were slightly quicker through the next right hand, and you've stopped braking. So I mean that's worked. It's a little bit quicker. So this is good. Then we've got this really tricky tight left where you're almost the same as you did before, but you just braked a bit earlier, so you were just a bit more cautious there. But I think you knew you were on a good lap, so you didn't want to throw it away. But what we're noticing with both of these, which is interesting, is your red and your green lap, from this phase of the corner onwards, they're like exactly the same. And for some reason, I'm getting a much better exit. So let's see why that is. Let's have a little look. I'm just going to zoom in. Why am I getting a better exit? It's this, isn't it? I'm braking harder up to the apex. That's the difference. You're braking and then coming fully off, pretty much. I'm doing a slightly stronger trail there, which must mean, yeah, that's why I'm going slower here, but it's pointing the right way. And then I'm back on the power way earlier. So I think you're going through the apex a little bit too fast, and that's forcing you to wait on the power. So that's interesting. Let's just watch it in real time. Just see how that looked. Okay, so it's this corner. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. We've gone in quite early. I don't know whether maybe you just... I think maybe you could have got away with slightly earlier power there. You can't hear it, I know, but... Yeah, okay, so maybe there's a slightly different compromise there, but it's not the end of the world, because the following straight's not very big, so you're not actually losing a huge amount of time on the way to here. There's a little bit. Okay,
Am I peeling off too early, too? It looks like I'm kind of turning... I don't know if I should be turning sharper and just waiting a little longer. I don't know
as in peeling off the edge of this curb here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think it is slightly. In fact, we've got quite good markers. Because
maybe not. Thing. No, I mean I can't really go any further than that.
No, that doesn't look bad at all, does it? Really, from that angle. No. I know what you mean though. It looked like we went in a bit early from the other view. Now I want to.
But I don't think I can go much earlier or much later than that.
No, I don't think so either.
You're about the same
Yeah, I think it's about the same. Letting it go a bit wider on the exit. But yeah, it doesn't look massively different. Oh, I didn't mean to leave it running that way. There we go.
Well, I think, but if you're able to slow it down and turn it more, that's maybe why it looks like you're turning sharper than I am, because you're able to turn more at the apex.
So I'm peeling off at the third one here. So there is, it's like at the third red thing is where my rear leaves. But I'm still on the brakes relatively significantly at this point here. I'm only off the brakes there, at the apex. And now let's just have a look at yours again. So it's the third red thing when my tail came off the edge. If anything, you're turning in later, weirdly.
Yeah.
And then you have this a moment of oversteer, I think. That's maybe why it slows you down. Maybe why you then, go through the middle a bit too quick, because you've had this oversteer and you've had to kind of get out of the brake so you don't completely lose the rear. See if you can see it in your steering angle. I might have gone on slightly too slow-mo there, but let's just see. You turn. Now, see how you're having to reduce the lock because the rear's moving, and then you go again. It's not obvious, though, is it? Like, the data's making it look more dramatic than it is. Like, I mean, I guess we're only talking 4 kilometers an hour, aren't we? It's just the fact that I'm getting on the power here and yours is slowing down for longer. That's the thing I'd rather avoid. I kind of want, if you can do that fast speed and then pick up the throttle here, then great. But yeah, maybe it's just a slight angle tweak. But yeah,
I think I just need to slow it down, or slow the car down a little bit.
Just a fraction more, a fraction earlier. So, but don't do that and not get on the power earlier. You've got to do that and use that kind of additional rotation to then get on the power. Otherwise, you've wasted that. You've wasted that extra rotation. But the main thing I want to show you is this next bit. This is the part that I want you to be. Like, I want you to really know what you're aiming for here.
Yeah.
Most of the other corners, I think you know what you're aiming for. You know if you've missed an apex, and you know if you hit an apex, and you know if you've used all the track on the exit. This is way more vague, and I want this to be more obvious. So the patch of dirt that I want... Why does it keep going? I keep clicking rewind by mistake. The patch of dirt I want your car to basically touch or get really close to the inside is that one, like right there.
Okay.
I want us to be like full throttle pretty much until we're there. And we're obviously like much white. You can see it there. Like that there is dirty because people clip that in real life. That's definitely why that's there. And if we go on a big zoomed out view, we'll probably be able to see all of it, and it'll be a bit more obvious where the... Oh no, I'm going to have to be too far away, so you won't be able to see it. God, it's such a long corner, isn't it? It's completely on my second screen over there. But yeah, so we want to touch that patch of dirt, then run wide, so you're tight at exactly the point we want to be going wide. So that, by going full throttle up to that one and hitting it, is going to force you wide here. And then you'll be getting back to the second apex at the next patch of dirt here. So you're basically doing the inverse of the line I want you to do. I want you to go tight, wide, tight. And you're going kind of like wide, kind of tight, kind of wide. So
it's really 3 apexes then?
It should be 2. It should be patch of dirt, patch of dirt. So it should be there, wide, there, if that makes sense. So apex, wide,
what about
apex.
that curbing up? Should I be hitting the curbing again as we go forward like I did here? This?
Okay, I think that's part of the second apex. It's like a long second one. I'll show you what that looks like on mine.
Okay.
But yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah, I think that's just because the second apex goes on for ages.
So I shouldn't be peeling. I should just try and take that tight.
Before I tell you for sure, let's just see. Let's just see one more time on this one. Right, so patch of dirt there. Oh, actually, look, I'm not actually touching it. It's kind of like a faux apex. I'm like, it's where I'm getting closest. Oh no, look, I'm talking absolute crap. On this lap, on my best one, I'm not using that. Right, okay, I'm glad we looked at this before I sent you out, and I was like, no, you're still doing it wrong. And actually, it's because I'm just telling you an impossible task. Okay, I'm certainly using that as a marker, like visually, of being close to the right. Right, okay. So it's actually this kind of not very dirty bit of dirt.
Great.
And then wide. It's still 2 apexes, and yeah, you're right, it's there. Okay, right, so scrap everything let's extend this session by like a few minutes to erase all the rubbish I just told you. It's the same shape, but it's offset round. So you're right, it's not patch of dirt, wide patch of dirt, it's the bit just after the patch of dirt, wide, the bit just after the second patch of dirt. Okay, so here we go, let's just watch that. But the key is definitely staying full throttle on the way in longer, so all the way here to there. So you're full throttle until you get to the inside. That's where the big speed difference comes in. Then deliberately wide, but whilst braking. And then, yeah, okay, so your second apex is there. Okay, well, that makes more sense.
It's kind of right when the curving starts.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is why I'm so glad that I do like a run before we then go and do your sessions, because if I hadn't watched that there, I would have been convinced that I was doing a thing I'm not doing. That shows you how fallible human memory is as well. I was convinced I was making a second apex just here. But yeah, okay.
Somebody's doing something, because that's
yeah,
why all that
someone is, yeah. Maybe different cars that allow you to get there at different times.
Maybe so.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to just use that as an excuse. Yeah, that's the line I use in like Super Formula or something, probably.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay, so full throttle on the way in, but really, really deliberately, bam. It's actually probably at like the tightest point. It's not a uniform shape, this corner, even though it kind of looks like it is. Then wide, and back to the inside for the second second apex, which is the beginning of the concrete curve. If you do nothing else on this next run, I'd really like to see you do that, because you're going to get such a better run off this corner if you're able to be full throttle from here. Okay, right. And then finally, the thing that I wanted to take a look at was your steering angle. Because, okay, so final sector, by the way. That one is really good now. The tight right at the end of the long straight is like basically bang on. So don't change that. You've removed your W shape completely. That's way better. But this, you've gone backwards. Somehow, your line is better, but it's like you're worried to carry the speed in. Because you're already going slower than you could go, and you're now going way slower. So we just need to commit to that one faster. And if it goes wrong, so be it. Because we're now like 20 kilometers an hour slower than we need to be at the apex. So that's something we can fix. Oh, and before I send you out again, definitely want to talk about the final corner. You weren't doing this on the first run, I'm sure, but now look at that green line into the final corner. We're basically trying to carry way too much entry speed and going in really early. I wonder whether it shows the early turn here. Yeah, in fact, your line on the previous one was also quite early. The difference being you slowed it down enough to do that line. Now you're trying to take this really early line and go in 17k quicker than I'm going. So that isn't going to work. So you're just being way too brave. Somehow you managed to stay on the track. I don't know how the hell you did, but somehow. So we're at this kind of white marker. Okay, we're at the curb. Oh no, we're on board with me. Okay, right, this is me. Okay, I thought you'd
see where you're turning anyway.
Yeah. I'll show you this first, but okay, so it looks like about here. At this, I'm not using that as a marker, but that's just where it happens to be. Okay, so let's just play it in full speed. Oh, that's much more than full speed. Here we go. Okay, so it's kind of midway along the concrete curb, would you say? Like there. Yeah, maybe 2/3 of the way along this concrete curb.
Yep.
Towards the end of it, actually. It's the rear of the car comes off there. So quite late. Right, now let's compare. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I just missed. I'm off.
So
yeah, I see.
Yeah,
that.
You can see if you look towards the end of where that concrete curb is and where our relative position is, you can see why it's going to struggle to get the nose in on that angle, especially because you're going way faster than I was at the same time. So just delay that slightly, that's all. It's so hard, though, because the car just bites you if you do anything vaguely wrong. So, but there's definitely some time there. Okay, so as an overview, what we're going to change. Turn 1 and 2, leave them the same. The tight left there, again, pretty much leave it the same. The kink to the left, do it the same as you were doing, but there's even more time through that one. But that third gear and just being careful and smooth is working well. You're slightly quicker through that kink. This, we were saying, there's a little slightly weird offset, but actually it's only when you zoom in you really see it. So we can just go a fraction slower at the apex for that one and then come off quicker. For the carousel, not parabolica, we're going to ignore the patch of dirt. What idiot would use that patch of dirt as a reference point? We're going to apex later, but at full throttle. So we're going to just turn in and get to the inside, and at the point you get to the inside, then start braking so you don't go really, really wide, and then get it rotated and aim back at the concrete curb. And by the time you get to the concrete curb, we should be back to full throttle. That's that little bit there. And then the final corners, you're perfect at the end of that long straight. Just commit to that left faster. The line's good now, but just go faster through. Like don't brake for as long. In fact, yeah, it's mainly how early and hard, whereas mine's this flat, long, late one. So you don't have to stop it early. In fact, you'll have less understeer if you go in faster and then just lean on the brakes through there. And then obviously final corner, as we just discussed. Don't turn in 10 minutes too early, and you'll be fine. Let's go do it again. So that was loads and loads of talking for like really small, annoying things. So let's try again. I mainly want to see you do that parabol. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I mainly want to see your carousel.
Okay.
Alright, I'm watching. Let's go. And again, it's going to take a couple of laps to get this temperature.
Yep. A lot of understeer.
Yep, it's horrendous on this first lap. It's probably the worst car I've ever driven on the first lap. I don't understand why it's so bad, but maybe that's what, with the tyres they use in real life, maybe that's what they're like, and they insisted that it felt the same in iRacing.
Alright, I'll just know I need to lift a little bit.
Yeah, and the next lap will also still be a bit understeering. That's much more like it. So that was a little too late, but the cold tyres didn't help. But that was... Obviously, it wasn't better than before because we went off, but you were way closer to the correct turning point on that one.
Yeah, I see where I need to be there. That's...
Yeah. You got a target at least. Well done into there. That looked really nice. Really well judged. Ooh, good effort there as well. Right, okay. So, full throttle up to the inside. Oh, I didn't want to turn, did it? And then you can just nudge the brakes and then angle at that second curb and go flat. Good stuff. Right, we might see a gain on this straight. We might not
want to turn.
Yeah, yeah. Next lap it should be better. You still don't have very much... You know, you're not at peak tyre temperature just yet, so... Ah!
Oh, no.
Well, you can see... Yeah, the car will repair itself in a second. You can see where you were quick, though. You know, you were obviously well up until that point. So that's good. I think your rear tyres are a bit slippery because of actually being overheated. Now I'm just watching that one back just to see exactly where... Yeah, we were a tiny bit too late getting it slowed down, so you were forced to turn in too late. You were at the end of the curb on that one, and then when you turned, you had to turn quite sharp because it was a bit late. So that's why. But nearly. Oh, I think that's that. It's now the rears are a bit overheated, aren't they, because of those slides. So it might take a lap just to bring them back under control.
Alright, let's see what I can do.
There are some sections you're consistently a lot better now.
Well, just carrying less speed into the turn is really helping.
Yeah, really, really nice through all that sector. Okay, so let's get to that inside. There we go. And then you can run a little wide. And then start to pick up the gas. Oh, it's so difficult. I just didn't want to turn. This bloody car. That was painful to watch because I can see what you're trying to make it do.
I made it to the first apex.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that was a start. That was a start. Okay, well done. You lost a lot less time through there than you have on previous runs. Oh, look how much better that exit was. Okay, so we're getting there now. This is
Right,
quite...
I think I got that one.
Yeah, this is decent now. We just need to hook it all up on the same lap.
People were complaining about the engine sounds, but I really like the engine sound on this.
I think the engine sounds fine. I just hate everything else about it. That was really good again, by the way. Just massive time gains. That first half of the lap, you've got nailed now. Okay, so let's get to that first apex again. And then really get it pivoted for the second apex. And then you can go. Yeah, well done. Excellent. Okay, really nice job that time. That was the closest I've seen to you getting the ideal technique through there. So let's just get cleanly through these final corners. Excellent job. Well done. Okay, so although we
oversteer, but
yeah, we kind of like underdrove the final corner a bit, but so purple sector and then lost 4/10 on the next one. But that's way better though. Good job.
The guy behind has just done
Let's do one more. I think the optimals vanished because of a internet issue.
not sure what happened there.
You can see that gain that you just had on the delta there. That's what we want. We just have to get angled such that it continues through the rest of the exit. So on that one, you had that nice gain early on, but because we didn't quite get to the curb, you had to back off a little bit. If you can work on one thing before this race week starts, I think it's that. Just really, really nailing that parabolica. Sorry, I keep calling it parabolica, but it's not. It's carousel.
Too much dirt there.
Yep, yeah, too much dirt's always a negative.
Sure what's going on with my timers right now.
I think it's your internet. I saw it come up with discontinuity a moment ago, and it cut out for me. Brad, in about 1 minute, I'm going to have to shoot, but I'm going to leave this session open, and I'm going to write you some detailed notes before I close any of that stuff. So I just have to leave it on my screen. But I think...
no problem. Should I just DM you for next session?
Yes, I'm not going to turn off any of my computer or anything. I'm just... long story short, my other half has cooked a really nice dinner, and I've kept her waiting longer than I told her I was going to keep her.
No, go,
yeah. But I don't want to leave without, like, really annotating our data. So keep going as long as you want. This session's just going to keep running. If you do some amazing lap whilst I'm gone, I'll see that on here, and I can take that data anyway, and I will annotate appropriately, and I'll DM you. But essentially, I think you've got a pretty good direction here. It's just one thing knowing what it should be like, and another thing actually putting it into practice. It's a balance.
If you just saw how I did carousel, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm watching. You've done a good job through there. It's just the lap timer isn't working very well. Yeah, carousel was good on that one.
All right, well, that sounds good. I'm just finishing up this lap. I'm 3/10 off my best, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it just didn't display the time annoyingly, so that I won't get the data from that one, I don't think. But I'm going to leave this running anyway. I'm going to jump off the sim, but and I'll stay signed into this session as well, and I'll DM you with the plan. In fact, if you want to give me some dates when you're next free, we'll have a little discuss about that. But
you want me to do that now, or you want me to just?
Well, no. When I'll be back in like half an hour. I'll be sat back in the ring in about half an hour.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
But well done.
Thanks,
this is just really tough. You've just chosen a very, very difficult car track combo. Right. I'll be back in half an hour.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Brad.
I'm coming.
just done a 202.1. The guy behind has just done a 202.0.
Mouse, you got to get out of there, mate. Mouse is in the pod. I just hoovered it. No, Mouse, I just hoovered this. I just hoovered it. And you've made it hairy again already. Yeah, you're a naughty boy. That's bad cats. Out. Go out, please. Bad cats. Yeah, you're being a bad cat.